Welcome to All Things Pool New England. I'm Rory Pastor. I'm here at the Red Dragon Billiards Club and Training Center in Harvard, Mass. And it is my pleasure to welcome pro player Emily Duddy. Emily, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure, Roy.
Oh, this is great. No, and you're up in upstate New York somewhere, right?
Yeah, I live up in the Catskills, and we've been up here full time about 2 years. Before that, I was back and forth between Brooklyn and upstate. I also lived all over New York City and did in the different boroughs. I lived in Queens and Manhattan and Jersey City and Staten Island. But all together, I've been in the New York area about 18 years.
Terrific. Now, I know you've been a pool player, a professional player since about 2010. Is that
Correct.
Right?
Yep, I got my tour card for the WPA 2010.
So how did that come about? How did you get into how did that happen? How did you make the transition from normal pool player to a pro pool player?
Yeah, I feel like we all have very interesting backstories, right? For me, I really did grow up playing. I was something that I loved, and my dad started teaching me when I was 8 years old, and he was a great player. He still is a great player. Doesn't really compete anymore, but he dabbled in competition and was always really strong. So he loved the game, and I grew up in Hollywood, California. My dad ran the Hollywood American Legion, which was it's this beautiful building in the heart of Hollywood. It was built in the 1920s. So it's a place for veterans, but also actors. So my dad was a veteran in the Army, and he came back after Vietnam and ended up acting in California. So, he ran that place for 35 years. My parents met there. I was baptized in the building. But it was a place where we had world championships in the 1920s and the 1950s and the 1970s. So my dad was a workaholic, kind of like my personality a little bit. And, so I played all the time as a child, and all the veterans would teach me things. And my younger brother played too. We were 2 years apart. We were very competitive also. So I loved it growing up. But my first tournament I was a freshman in college at UC Santa Cruz. And I was 18 years old. I'd never played 9-ball. I was playing every day at that point in college on campus. And I took 4th place, and I was kind of stunned a little bit. And they gave me the money, and I was very excited. And I really got that bug, that bug when it was like I was really, really obsessed with the game and playing a lot. But then I combined the competition factor, and I became really all in. I went all in, and someone mentioned that I could play qualifiers and get on the pro tour. And so I immediately started playing women's qualifiers when I was about 19 years old. And I just, been still obsessed, it's 20 years later. I just started to play as much as I could, started to train. I moved to New York City to really advance my career after college, and worked out.
Well, you have to ask you. That's a big transition from Hollywood, California. You moved to New York City, the big bad city, to become a professional player.
Yeah.
Now, that had to be, that's a big leap of faith there.
Yeah.
Where did that decision come from?
Yeah. I guess I've always been pretty adventurous and bold and independent, so those helped me. But, I just graduated UC Santa Cruz. I'm in San Jose. I'm managing Campbell Billiards. Some Californians might remember it is closed now. And, I'm just traveling. I'm so obsessed, and I'm traveling the country. And, I just start to realize that the California pool scene was because of the good weather, right? Everyone's at the beach, so the pool scene wasn't as good. And New York City was on the list of places for me to, kind of consider. And I had a good friend that lived there. We had grown up together, and I went and stayed with her. And it was my 23rd birthday. And I was like, I'll go to New York for my birthday and check it out. And honestly, I fell in love with the place. I fell in love with New York's energy and the city. The pool scene was amazing. I mean, we had all these 24-hour pool halls like Master Billiards and Broadway Billiards, and there was 24-hour action, and I was gambling a lot in college. Not as much these days, but it was like, wow, this is the place where I was so obsessed. I wanted to play every day, all day, 24 hours a day, and I was like, this is the place I can do it. Also, Amsterdam Billiard Club, where I'm currently still a house pro after 18 years. I fell in love with that pool hall. I did. I made so many friends. Immediately I walked in. I wanted to meet Jennifer Beretta, who was one of the house pros. And I walked in, I was like, where's Jennifer Beretta? I want to meet her. And they're like, Jennifer was out of the country on her birthday vacation. Her birthday is the day after my birthday. And, after I moved, we became best friends, and she was the maid of honor at my wedding, and we traveled the world together for 10 years, and yeah, pretty special.
She has her own pool hall now, doesn't she? She has her own hall?
Yes, she owns Skyline Billiards in Brooklyn, and it's a tremendous pool hall. The equipment's the best, the competition's the best. Highly recommend everyone to go check it out. But yeah, I will say, I went back to California, I said, I'm moving to New York. I'm going to become a pro, and everyone's like, half the people were like, that's so awesome, we believe in you. Half the people were like, you're crazy. That's a terrible idea. And
probably a little of both was true, right? A little of both.
Yeah, a little bit of both, probably. I mean, I knew that I could make it, but it was a lot. It was a big decision, and it was a big move. So they threw me, we did a big tournament. They threw me a big going away party. I still have all the cards and the poster and the brackets from it. And, I got to New York in June of 2007, and I literally had $2,000, which was gone immediately because I moved in with roommates and paid the deposit. Right, I had my pool cues, my laptop, a couple suitcases. And the first 6 months, I was working like crazy in restaurants and gyms. And I was like, I'm barely playing any pool. And I was like, I don't know if I made the right decision. This city's so expensive and crazy and all. But what really helped me is I kept on the lookout for a very flexible job where I could still make good money, but also have the weekends to play tournaments and then have the flexibility to travel. And I finally found that in the catering industry. That's where really the turning point came. I got a job with Restaurant Associates. They're an amazing company. They're the biggest catering company in New York City. And I was able to work a lot of daytime hours, work a lot of hours and overtime and then go for tournaments. And that's really the key that helped me, that puzzle piece that I needed to really be able to travel and make it.
Well, you said, if I heard you correctly, you graduated first before you made this big move. And what was your degree in?
Yeah, so I got my bachelor's degree in psychology from UC Santa Cruz. And part of the decision was that psychology came very easily to me and that I'd done well on it, even in high school. I'd done well on the AP test and I kind of had general eds done because, to be honest, I was playing pool every day, all day. So I kind of needed to choose a major that kind of was an easier one for me, and psychology was a good fit. But of course, it also has helped me over the years in competition with my own, discipline and my own life and navigating a career that is very unorthodox and unusual, and it takes a lot of creativity and prowess and stuff. So I think that my degree has helped me a lot. But I did have the backup plan to go to graduate school and become a therapist, and all of that also felt like a good fit for me. But I'm really glad I've really made pool work.
Sure. I think a lot of people would argue that the pool world needs more therapists, Emily.
That's pretty true, probably. Yeah, no, it's a game of characters. It is.
Yes, and I'm very proud of you. One of the things that you'll see, there are kids here all the time. I open this place is always open to kids, and one of the things I always tell them is you have to stay in school. You have to do school, and we emphasize school first.
Yeah.
I know the older I get, the more I realize that there are a lot of different ways to do things, and my way is not always the way, but I do have, old school biases, and my bias has always been school first, and then you can do whatever you want, and I'm very proud to be able to use you as a role model to say, look, Emily went to school and she still made this work if that's what you decided to do. So
Yeah.
I think that's very commendable. I do appreciate that. Now,
Yeah.
growing up, who were your role models in the billiard industry? You mentioned Jennifer Beretta, but
Yeah, yeah. Jennifer
and,
Beretta was definitely one. I really admired how she took the mainstream part of it, and I saw her on the cover of a mainstream magazine when I was in college. And obviously, she is very disciplined and picked up the game later in life, and it's incredible what she's achieved. Younger, I would say Guy Young Kim. Guy Young Kim was one of my favorite players. Now she's a top, three cushion player in Korea and making more than all of us, I would say, probably, regular pool pros. But she was so inspiring and just so energetic and offensive and just fun. And I loved, obviously Allison Fisher and Karen Core and Jeanette. I grew up watching them on ESPN. The old rivalries. I loved Vivian, and Ava and all of the old school players. There's just such a class to that era of the 90s and early 2000s at ESPN. And there still is. But now then I got on tour in 2010 and I got Rookie of the Year and I started playing them all. And it was so exciting. But I will say, like the first few years, it was like so much of every time I would play one of my idols, it was just so nerve wracking and I would never play my best. And then, after I really got comfortable and settled in and started to train, more with it, extensively with coaches and get my game to a higher level, then I could really hold my own and started beating them, off and on. And it's great. It's a great feeling. So I would say, yeah, I mean, my top ones would be, of course, Allison Fisher. I love her. Guy and Kim, Jen Beretta. The men's side, I mean, I love all the men. I love Chris Melling. He's a good friend, and he's probably one of my favorite players, style-wise. And then, there's so many great men players. But as a woman competitor, like those were really who I looked up to.
run leagues here too, and I'm always surprised how surprised people are with how approachable just about all of the pro players really are. I remember that we were in Vegas for a BCA event and coming down the elevator, and one of my league players said, "Boy, that was Shane Van Boning in the elevator." And I said, "Yes, he has to come down the elevator just like us, go down and play pool." So, but I think most people, they would be happy to find out that most of the pros are just, they're happy to sign autographs and they're happy to take their pictures with you, and they're very and to give advice. Most are very, like yourself, are very generous with giving advice, and I encourage more of the players to get involved in some of the national events and come see you guys.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, it's a very special sport, in that we are so accessible. And there are pros and cons to that as a professional as well. I love that I get to have so much interaction with fans, and for me, I love my fans. I love people. I'm definitely a people person, and I love autographs and selfies. But I will say, that does come with an like an expensive energy. Right, an expensive of physical and mental, emotional energy, especially for me, who really gives 110% whoever I interact with. So I've learned over the years as an extrovert that I try to set boundaries on my energy. I try to really plan my routes, especially or where I'm walking or who I'm interacting with. Especially before and after matches during big tournaments, because I'll get caught up and spend all day with the fans, and then I have to go compete, and it takes a lot of energy. So then I really I've gotten better with balancing it. But yeah, I felt like that too when I first got into the scene, like higher level competition. All the pros were just so wonderful and supportive, and we're all just here because we love pool, no matter what level we're at.
That begs another question. You talked about balance. I know you just had was it a 4-year anniversary? You just had an anniversary.
You did, 4-year wedding anniversary. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I know you're on the road a lot now. And as a touring pro, and having, this family life, how do you reconcile, how do you balance being on the traveling? I know you travel a lot. How do you balance all of that?
It's a great question, and it is challenging, I will say. I feel like I, really invested time in finding the right partner. I think that was a big thing because it is an unusual, lifestyle and career, especially for women. You can say that the gender thing shouldn't matter, but, it is. It's a different kind of thing because men are, their careers, they're just automatic. Okay, well, this is what I do. So I was a struggle more when I was younger, in my 20s and my early 30s. And, I when I was dating in my mid 30s, before I met my husband, I was really like, this is what I need in a partner. This is who I am. I had that, really set. And so when I met my husband, he was very understanding. He used to be a competitive tennis player. He's a musician. He has traveled a lot for his career, and so it was someone that was very much understood who I was and that could handle that part. And then I had my stepkids, and they were back and forth, half time with us and half time with their mom. So it was juggling, but it was more of a support that came from them. And it was also, I prioritize holidays. I prioritize birthdays. I definitely take a lot of international, invites and go overseas. But then I'll turn down events, so that I'm not gone for a month straight, or I'm here for an important event where maybe my daughter's performing. She's a musician, or my husband has a big event. So it's a compromise. It's a compromise. Like I'm not, I don't compete in everything I could, but I also, when I do go, they are here and support me and watch all my TV matches and are just following along everything. And so they're so invested in how I'm doing.
Tell me a little bit about your practice routine. How often do you practice? What does your practice routine look like?
Yeah, so that's evolved and changed some as my career has gone on, right? Of course, when I was obsessively playing every day, all day, from like maybe 18 to, my late 20s, or let's say 25 or so, it was very much more playing time and less really focused practice. I was so ingrained in the New York pool world. I was playing leagues multiple nights a week. I was playing tournaments every weekend. I was, trying to go pro. And then I finally got on tour. I was 26, and I realized that I had that my skill level of a lot of the different parts of my game were nowhere near where I needed them to be. I was a great shot maker. I had a lot of rhythm. I had a lot of talent as a young junior player coming up as a junior. But I didn't have the pre-shot routine and the patterns and the defense plan. And so I started working with Stu Matana, my first coach, after I got on tour. Then it really, my whole world changed. My whole practice regime changed. Because then I would work with Stu, a 6-hour training session every Friday. Now during the daytime, I would practice, for an hour at a time and really work on two patterns and kicking systems and really focus my practice. So then I was practicing, 3-4 days a week during the day, having my training sessions. Then I was also playing a lot, but it started to become very much more focused. And I was, then I changed coaches to Mike Napolitano, and we started to really focus on pre-shot routine, rhythm. And that was also a 1-hour a week session, mostly on Saturdays. And again, he started working on really drills, speed control drills to really hone in on my position play. We worked a lot on breaking. So then it was 3-4 days a week of really focused practice. I'd spend an hour on breaking. I'd spend an hour on, pattern play. I'd spend always practicing my pre-shot routine. Then I would say now the last, really 5-6 years as a really all of these are now ingrained in me, and I've started giving my own lessons and having my own students and doing more clinics. I would still say that I'm practicing about, 4 days a week, but it's usually a 30-minute session in the afternoon. And I do different, again, still focused practice. Now I'm more focused on jumping. Jumping is one of the weaker areas of my game because I I grew up as an old school player and learned how to kick, So my jumping, I still work on, obviously my pattern play. I play a lot of straight pool in my individual practice because that's something that I can, focus on my high runs, but it's always making me work with the cue ball and making me find the thinness of the ball to create those safeties. And, so I still have maybe 3-4 days, but it's very focused and individualized. And then I'm still playing in leagues and tournaments, but my leagues are very selective also. I play in the Street Pool League at Amsterdam, very high level league. And then sometimes I play in a team league for fun, but yeah, most of it's competition and then focused league play.
You've sounds like you've made a little bit of a transition, not to the exclusion of the other, but from a player to a teacher and a coach yourself. And you and I just spent a couple of days together here at the Red Dragon, working on your PBIA accreditation, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I was thrilled to see how effective and articulate and what a good natural teacher you are. Now, it could be, I think part of it is your personality. You're a very bright person, and you're certainly you must have had good coaches too, because apparently it all rubbed off. But you're doing a great job. And right now, how is so tell me now, I know that you teach classes and you take students at Amsterdam, some in your home where you're talking to me now from. So tell me how you, and later on I'll put down your number so people can call you. But tell me.
Yeah, let's do email. Email address is better. Right?
Or email. We'll put down your email address when I finish this product.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about what caused you to make that transition.
Yeah, so I would say that maybe I would say about 10 years ago, I would started to take the one-off lesson or the one-off student. People would approach me at Amsterdam and say, do you give lessons? And I was like, yeah, I can do that. It's when I really started to feel that a lot of the teaching or the training that I had gone through, that I could give that and teach that to someone else. But I still wasn't, it was very random and very very one-off, because I was still working on my own game and traveling a lot. And then I would say after the pandemic, I came back and I just felt like I had a lot to give to other students, as well as having it be a great part of my income, but also focusing on women. I love, teaching women, because a lot of women struggle, with getting taught by a man. It's, our anatomy is different, our thought processes, our emotionals. Not that, of course, women can't have great men coaches and teachers, but I felt like, there weren't as many high-level women offering that to amateur women players. So that became a really great motivator for me. And especially 2 years ago when I moved to this area in upstate New York, there was a lot of women, I felt like, that wanted to play and were excited about learning, but there isn't a great pool hall in the area. There are no strong women players that I know of close by. And I just, I started feeling like, what, I could do, great group lessons. I had done that before. And so I implemented it the beginning of this year and really structured it, right? We created flyers, put up created a scan code where they could sign up on my website, started to put them around at my yoga studio and my chiropractor and different places. And it kind of really blew up in the last 6 months so quickly, where women would just start to all around town, and all of a sudden I'd be like, my 4 friends want to come to the next one, and it was like so exciting that that the community really was excited about it and embraced it. So now I have about 25 women locally that are rotating through my group lessons. And then that started to, I think, give other people ideas. And so I'm going to Connecticut for one where I'm working with about 40 women in October. There's still spots open for that. That's going to be October 4th. and it's going to be in Connecticut, and all that information is on my social media and stuff. And then lessons at Amsterdam have increased also, but I take them very selectively. I'd still say I want serious students. I don't have a lot of time to do one-off lessons, so I kind of like to work with students that are serious about coming, once a month and really progressing. I love how we have the kids, the cute little cuties walking around back there.
So I've been running a junior programs here for about 23 years, and
that's amazing.
I've always, this particular place, if the kids don't have a pool table at home, I just give them free access. So they have to have a parent. There's a parent around here somewhere.
Yeah. I feel like that's a good rule, Roy, because otherwise turns into babysitting a little.
No, that's the only
wonderful
rule. A parent has to be there, but there are kids floating in and out of here all the time.
Yeah.
So I mean, you and I, we just spent a couple of days together, and you had a chance to teach some of these kids, these little kids, in a session, and they all loved it. And that, part of the joy for me in teaching kids is that it's so real. They just really loved the game. They were a couple of them were a little intimidated, didn't want to play you in a challenge match. But they, it's really so real. They have a passion for the game, and they love it. They haven't reached the point where they're actually full politics yet. People don't realize how prevalent that is.
Yeah.
And we even had a component online for that evening's class, right? We had kids from our Break and Run program. So we had a boy from Hong Kong, and which you're going to continue with me teaching him online.
Yeah.
And some of our juniors from California, and Tanvi attended from Maryland. So it's nice that with the technology nowadays, it's really no limits. We work with a nonprofit in South Africa that has 15,000 kids in it and 350 schools, and they use the same curriculum that we're using. So it's a lot of fun to do that.
Well, it's interesting too. I mean, sorry to cut you off. I was when technology first came around, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, I watched it advance and develop, and I was worried because of the social media and the attention span, and kids being on their phones. I thought it was really going to hurt pool, because pool is such a game where you need to be focused and engaged and have that attention span. But then out of the pandemic, right? I mean, during lockdown, so many of our strong junior phenoms like Savannah Easton and Sophia Mass and a lot of these kids, really they were stuck inside and they started to play a lot more pool, but people started to watch a lot more pool videos because of that as well. And I feel like it was just this really amazing thing for pool, that it gave us this big boost. And I think that there was also this momentum pre-pandemic for pool. And then afterwards, it just really took off with the production companies, the production and TV, from Matchroom and Predator, WPBA. They're better than ever, And so for me now, as you mentioned, those online lessons was something that, is now an option for kids all over the world, for people all over the world. And now after doing that clinic with you, I mean, it opened my eyes to the asset and the potential it has.
So you want to hold on for like 10 minutes? Okay. You want to come say hello, being on this? CU's you met CU. He's one of our junior students, and he's going to tell them not to bang balls for a few minutes while we finish.
Hi, good to see you again. See you.
So CU, come here. What did you think of that class that we had with Emily on Friday night?
I think it was great. I think she did a great job.
You got to speak up.
I think she did really good. She brought like a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and I thought it was like very intriguing. So
good. Thank you.
I'm glad. Thank you for sharing that. That's so great to hear.
I do have some clips that I'm going to be adding in from that night. Friday night, and we also talked together on Saturday for I think we had about 20 league players or so that came, and they were very impressed that they could jump a half a ball with their play cue, to be honest with you. They didn't think that was anything like that was possible. And they're already asking me for more classes, so you might have to come down and join us again
Yeah,
for,
I would love to. That sounds great.
and we'll have you here for sometime we'll do a weekend class together and train instructors, because part of what we do is we train and certify other instructors. So it's a great way to grow the sport. And you mentioned having more women. I have 2 women PBIA instructors that work out of this location with me that I trained, and now they train some of the other women. It's a great way that for you'll be able to do the same thing in your area. So we're going to have, and I said, I'm going to be putting in some of these clips. We're going to take a little break, but to finish it off, can you tell me what do you see this sport going in 5 to 10 years, in particularly the women's pro tour and then pool in general?
Yeah. So I mean, in the next 5-10 years, I see pool getting to really its highest and most mainstream level yet. And the reason I say that is because, you know, things are different now, because the production, really, it's about the production and giving that access to average people and average viewers through Billiard TV, and now we're on Amazon Prime. And now they can see, I mean, Matchroom and Predator and the WPBA, and zooming in with these, you know, up close shots. I think that shows really, you know, how beautiful the game is, and like the nuances of it, the spin that we're putting on the ball. You know, it's really hard to tell that in the old 90s productions. Now you have the measle ball, and you can see, you know, wow, like we just made that beautiful 3-rail, you know, inside English spin to get on that 9 ball and make it so easy. But you can see that. Also, it helps people connect with the players, the fans, our stories, our personalities, where we're from, you know, who's emotional, who's like, you know, shy and more mechanical. You know, I think that is so great for the game. For women's pool, I see us getting to a complete another level with our juniors. You know, I've been in the game for 33 years, and we've never had a junior class like the one we have now, right? We have, you know, Savannah Easton, Sophia Mast, Kennedy Mayman, Jordan Helfrey, Kennedy Dunn. You know, these girls are really, they're training like the Asian and the European countries have been doing for the last, you know, 10, 20, 30 years. And we're at the tip of the iceberg with it. So I just feel like with programs like yours, Roy, with more support from the parents, now pool is being really respected in America. And you can see, I mean, they have their jerseys and their sponsors, they have social media followings. I mean, it's a whole new ball game for these kids. I also love that a lot of the junior world championships are co-ed. Now, you know, I see them, the Matchroom Junior World Championships, they're combining the girls and the boys in equal numbers early, right? And that is something that has never been done, you know, proper before. And you know, pool was different 50, 60 years ago for the women. And so we have our pioneers in the 70s, and we have veterans like me, and now we're all kind of come together to really have a really strong community, you know. And I do think that, you know, the online availability of just, you know, videos and tips and lessons will continue to strengthen it. So I see pool also getting into the Olympics. You know, we are working with ANOC. Joy Hayball Tour is actually working with ANOC to meet the different criteria. And you'll see that the World Games was more structured this year for billiards, especially with the 4 different disciplines, right? So it's 10 ball, hayball, snooker, and billiards, right? Or yes, exactly, snooker and billiards. So we're meeting those criteria. We're on TV more. Everything's being streamlined. And PBIA, for example, the reason I really wanted to get certified, not only personally to, you know, advance my structure and the way I was teaching, was to support a unification of you know, of an organization, of a governing body, of things that are, you know, really, you know, streamlining the curriculum. That's what we need. Right? We need to be in more schools. We need to have more physics and geometry. We need to have more pool in schools across the country. And that will really help not only kids and the future of the world, I think, because pool is so wonderful in so many ways, right? You have math, it's social, it's interactive, it takes discipline, it's athletic, it's so much, right? but also from just a standpoint for the sport to really to be more taken seriously and just get us to another level.
I think that's a great way. You have so much passion and you have so much energy. That's a great positive note to finish up. Emily, I'd like to thank you and I look forward to hopefully teaching with you again sometime and getting some other days. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
When we get started, everybody welcome. Boy, it's something that I haven't seen you all summer. You don't know how much I've missed you. All of you. Are you coming back? So we're going to start up next Sunday for our session. I'll send out an email. All right, so we have Emily Duddy here today. Emily is on the Pro Tour, Pro Women's Tour. So she misses less than most of us do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up. I'm going to open this up first to questions. Okay, who wants to come over here and use this and ask a question? Emily, you have a question?
Great. Yes.
Jim. So, friends, we have some of our students all around the world.
Hello, could you show us what technique you use to break?
Along with my, right? So when I'm breaking, I'm timing it, right? So I'm going through the ball. Like let's say I'm here, right? I'm using my pre-shot routine. So I'm step, 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 and I'm here, and I'm timing it so that as I pull back on my last stroke, really slow like an arrow, I go entire through with my entire body. So I go forward and up, and I love to kick and use that extra power. So I'm here, here, and I'm through.
Thank you.
You're going to have to demonstrate the next on Sunday. Okay, hold on. So we've got Noah and Tanvi, and I see Donovan, and we got a bunch of people online. Any questions? Any questions? Come on, speak up. Tanvi, any questions?
Don't be shy, it's super fun. Can I answer all?
Hold on. Let's see, make sure. All right, let's see what we got here. Tanvi, your microphone's off, so I can't hear you if you have a question. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. I don't think I have any questions.
What?
I don't think I have any questions.
You don't have any questions? Oh my God, Noah, how about you? Any questions?
Not really sure. Maybe just some tips that you might have for like
We're going to
playing,
go through that
I guess.
in a little bit.
Okay,
We're going to
yeah.
go through some tips. We're going to focus. Yes, Will.
Yeah.
You did a good job. Thank you.
Right. Hi, I'm Will.
Hi, Will.
And I've heard Roy say that Efren Reyes practices a certain amount a day and then plays a bunch. Could you talk to us a little bit about focused practice versus playing and kind of how you spend your time?
Yeah, a wonderful question. Yeah, guys. So as a full-time competitive pool player, I'm doing a lot of things where I'm playing leagues, multiple nights a week, like a higher level leagues. I'm playing tournaments almost every weekend. I'm going overseas. Last year, I played world championships in New Zealand, Morocco, Slovenia. I've been doing this a long time. For my focused practice, when maybe let's say 10 years ago, when I first got on the tour about 15 years ago, I worked with a coach extensively, right? 6 hours every Friday. And we would slowly work on all the different details and trips. And he would give me my drills for the week. And those drills, I would make sure to do, my focus practice is about 20 to 30 minutes at a time, right? Because you don't want to be too overwhelmed. It's easy to get burnt out with solo practice. Imagine we're playing a game, right? You and I, what's your name? Hi, Jacob, nice to meet you. So we're playing a game, right? And it's like he shoots a few balls and he sits down, and then I take a turn, I shoot a few balls, right? Jacob now has a break when I'm shooting, right? He gets to relax, his eyes relax, his focus, and that other person shoots, right? So an actual match has those built-in breaks, but with solo practice, it's super intense, right? You're like, it's only you're doing your drills. It's very easy to get burnt out and to maybe lose focus and not have it really be as good as it should be. So what I do now is maybe every like 3-4 days a week, I do usually 30 minutes in the afternoon. I like doing it in like around like 1 o'clock, maybe after lunch. I got my morning routine down. I go to the gym, I do some yoga, I work on my social media, right? So I always make sure to get 3 days a week, and it's about 30 minutes each time. Drills of different things. Some weeks and I will usually focus too on like 30 minutes of jumping, or maybe 30 minutes of breaking, or playing straight pool, right? I keep it also very intensive, and I try to change it up to like do all the different skills and work on them. But it is important to not do too long solo sessions.
What happens if you over practice?
Well, you're tired, you're going to get a little burnt out. You also, you really start to not have those skills really be as strong, right? Because you're not as focused, you're not as into it, and you don't have that right amount of energy, right? So you start making mistakes, and you start developing bad habits.
And you go back to the old.
Tired. You go back to the old habits because you're in default. You're tired. Your brain's like, not as connected, and you might start doing something that we're trying not to do when we're learning differently.
So, Emily, how old were you when you started playing? We have a lot of young people here. How old were you when you started playing?
I was 8 years old when I started playing. My dad was a big pool player, and I grew up. Now, you guys have such an advantage because, growing up for me, now to tell you, I've been out doing this a long time, right? There wasn't as much support. There wasn't as many junior tournaments or instructors or things. So I grew up, I had a great support from my dad and veterans. I grew up in a veteran hall in Southern California. For me, my first tournament, I was 18, and I took 4th place in it. And that's when I started competing, and I've been all in ever since, right? But you guys have such a huge advantage because just by playing when you're younger, pool is like a language, right? Pool is a language. And so you use it, learning it as young as you can gives you those fundamentals, that muscle memory. So you guys are way ahead of the game. Then if you have fun and the more you play, the more you develop those. So
I always we always have a lot of young girls, young ladies in this group, and boys don't take this personally, but I always tell them that it's the best way when they go to college to make the boys cry. And that's the skill. This is something they can play their entire lives and have a lot of fun with. What advice would you give if you have any advice for these kids as they get older? We've been working towards. We run the New England tour, so we run junior state championships in Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maine, New Hampshire, Mass. And I try to get them all involved. What advice would you give to these kids about playing in tournaments and working towards goals?
Yeah. So when I started competing, I was in college. Also, I was 18, and time pool is still maybe more of a boys' game, right? But that's changing in a big way. There's no difference between us and men and women on the table. It was just more socially. A lot of men would raise their oh, let's take my son to go play pool, but now everybody does, right? So it's all about competing and playing as much as possible. Right? Because then you really get used to that feeling of competition, right? So when I first started, it would be like so nervous at the local pool hall. And then I go, okay, wait a minute. I start beating people like this. Okay, I never beat this person. Oh, wait, I'm working hard. I'm getting better. Now I beat this person. Now, maybe I won a small tournament. Okay, great. Good. Let me go into bigger tournaments. And I would play as much as possible. I've had people say to me, I'm not going to play a tournament until I know I can win it. And I said, I wish that was possible. I wish that was true. You have to, lose 1,000 times to be able to really get that experience and that expertise. Guys, we all love the game here, right? We're here because we love the game. So it has to be about, enjoying the game in the moment. How can I get better tomorrow? The winning and losing will come and go, right? You can't really control that. Your opponent could play better than you, and that we have respect for that because they've worked hard and they play well. And then they can also get lucky. Maybe there was like, you played your best pool ever, but you're super unlucky and you lost. You can't control that either, right? So my biggest advice, guys, play as much pool as you can, but have fun, right? Compete when you can, play with your friends, play in leagues. Also work on training because that gives you your fundamentals and that's your rock, right? The fundamentals is always going to be your baseline. And you have to know that you love the game. And this game is so hard, guys, right? So you're going to get good, but it's going to take a lot longer than maybe some other sports. And you have to just really work hard. And those moments will come where you win the tournament and you're like, oh my God, all those years of working hard and playing were so great. I just won the Boston Open a couple months ago, and it was such a wonderful feeling to be there. And it was like when I hadn't won something for a couple of years, it was like a great win for me, but I was still working hard and I was always doing it for the love of the game. And then everything else is a bonus.
Emily, what sparked your love of the game?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like pool for me, because I grew up as an athlete, but I also loved math and physics, and I was also a really good student. And I grew up playing, and then once I finally played that first tournament, it was this kind of moment that it was like brought it all together, right? Because I consider pool athletic chess. It's athletic chess, right? It's it's because your physical body, right? Your fundamentals are very important. But this is always this is solving puzzles, right, guys? This is problem solving puzzles. So for me, it was like the ultimate combination, and I never got bored, right? I never got bored. I would go and play something new every day, something different, a new challenge, a new shot to learn, a new moment where I could maybe beat somebody that I've been on the coach for a long time. When I first got on tour, there were all those really famous ladies like Jeanette Lee and Allison Fisher and Eva Lawrence, and I was so nervous. Because I watched all these ladies on TV, right? And it took me a few years of being a pro to be like, I can beat them. I'm capable of beating them. I can do it. And then I started to slowly beat them, and then beat them all. And then, and it was like, wait a minute, I can do this, but you have to believe in yourself, work hard, and so for me, it became about self-improvement, and just working and being the best player I could be every day. And that also made me a better person, and you get to make new friends every day like you guys, right? All over the world. And I played world championships in China, Asia, Taiwan, Philippines, Austria. This year I'm going to Australia, Peru, Mexico City for world championships, right? I'm living this amazing dream life of travel. And now I have friends. Wherever I go to Germany, I have Ralph Eckert, and I stay with him, and I play at his school hall, and then I go to Austria, I have Jasmine Ocean, and I go to her training facility and hang out with Jasmine. It is such a...
Because you have the right dragon, Emily. You have the right dragon.
It is the ultimate game because it's social, right? Social, it's athletic, it's fun, but you guys, it's also working our brains. It's making our brains stronger and better. The problem solving, figuring out the puzzles. This is just a bunch of puzzles. It's really fun puzzles. Fun puzzles.
So this academy, our focus is on meeting potential. And that's just not about pool, right? We're developing ways that we can work together, team efforts. We work building work ethic and dedication and staying motivated and staying focused. So this carries over way beyond pool. How many of the kids on our wall have been very successful in good colleges and moved on because the skills that we pick up here go far beyond the game. That's what makes this a great game to participate in. All right, so I think at this point what I'd like to do is we're going to have Emily, we're going to talk about a few things at the table. I know that we based some of our things on some straight pool. So we can go through a straight pool break, but I think more importantly, we're going to talk about some defensive plays, some safety shots, perhaps some run out. Who here has loved that drill. That breakout drill that I gave to the straight pool kids. It's tough. These are developing a pattern play, learning how to go to the next cluster, learning how to create the key ball and insurance ball. Some of you guys don't have a clue what I'm talking about, that you will. You will, right, as we move forward. But Emily plays a lot of straight pool as well, New York, so it's a great resource. CU's in our group. We have a few kids here who've been playing it. So I think let's start off with some of your favorite safety shots.
Cool. I love that.
Because no matter what game we're playing, we have to play defensive, right? We have to have a defensive game. And then we have to learn how to get out of defensive when somebody safeties us. So let's talk about, Emily, what is some of your favorite safety shots?
With straight pool or with any
With
shot?
any game.
Any game. Well, when we're playing safeties, guys, right, there's so many options, right? Because when you're looking at a safety, you could hit the left side of the ball, you could hit the right side of the ball, you could focus on the cue ball, you could focus on the object ball, right? So when you're playing safeties, you want to think about the options and then really commit to that choice, that option and that choice. So something, a good safety, right? Straight pool, you have maybe a pack, the cluster. Right. So let's take a straight pool. This is for straight pool, for example. Now, guys, the beauty of straight pool is it makes all of your other games better, right? It makes your patterns better. It makes your cue ball control better. Because with straight pool, it's the easiest game in theory, right? One ball, every ball is worth 1 point.
So some of them may not know what straight pool is. Straight pool is every ball counts the same. You can hit any ball. It's not like 8 ball, 10 ball. You have to hit them in order. You can hit any ball in any order you want.
Yeah.
To make a point.
Yeah. So, but with straight pool, right, you have a lot of problems and clusters and things, right? So again, this is like, let's say we were playing straight pool and we missed the breakout, right? And let's say it got re-racked. Let me make sure that front ball's straight. So guys, with straight pool, again, you're trying to not leave your opponent a shot, right? Now let's say we're at the beginning where this ball was pocketed, right? And there's a lot of safes in straight pool, right? Where you can use the pack and it's frozen. So for example, let's say when you're playing straight pool, every ball is worth 1 point, okay? And your opponent's, this is a fresh rack. You can use this rack and you can go into the second ball and you can leave them no shots, okay? Again, this will make more sense if you guys play straight pool. But what I'm going to do is try to hit this 5 ball with top, and I'm just going to push it into the pack so that they have no shot miss, okay? So I'm just going to demonstrate. Right? So if you're playing straight pool, yeah, this is a magic safety. And I get stuck. I play position for that safety. And you see what I just did? I just knocked out 1, 2, 3 balls that I could make next. But can my opponent make anything? Nope. They are stuck. Okay. So that's a straight pool safety, right? Then let's say, let's say we're playing 8 ball. Actually, let's say we're playing 9 ball. You can use the pin up. There's a lot of different 9 ball safes that are very basic, but very effective, right? So let's say we have the 1 ball, 2 ball. Okay. So guys, let's say we're shooting 9 ball, right? Everyone's pretty familiar with 9 ball. It's on TV. Most of us play it, right? So I am on the 1 ball. This is not the best shot. Difficult shot here. This 2 ball also very difficult for me to make the 1 ball and get position for the 2 ball, right? So I'm looking at this and I think I need to play defense here. Okay. So you have options with 9 ball where I can try to play the 1 ball up here and maybe move the cue ball down here to hide clusters, right? But also with you guys at your level 2 when you're playing, You can just do something very simple with 9, where you can put the 1 ball on the top rail and make them have to come with a safe shot or a big, right? So let's say again, I'm going to try to just focus the 1 ball on the top rail. Keep it very simple. This is more of a safe that's just basic, giving my opponent a hard shot. Okay. So I'm going to just try to focus on the 1 ball to the top rail. All right. So I wanted to hit a little bit harder, and I could also have gotten it here. Right. A more aggressive safety would be maybe to try to get it over here and use a little bit of spin. Right. So now I'm hitting the 1 ball and I'm coming off the rail and I'm using a little bit of English, right? Magic English to create this line where now I'm coming down here. All right. So I'm going to try to focus on the cue ball now. The other one was a safety with a 1 ball. This is more a cue ball focus safety. Okay, so I wanted a little further, but can you guys see that instead of going for this really tough 1 ball shot, right, really low percentage, we're really hard to make that. If I miss it, I'm giving my opponent an easy shot, right? So it doesn't always have to be like let's say said no shot, right? Well, let's say now there are this kinds of, so another one of my favorite defensive shots is like, let's say I have this shot, right? I can make the 1 ball on the side, not like most of the time, easy shot. But what about the 2 ball, right? 2 ball's down here, rut. Okay, why is it a problem? My natural tangent line when I make this one, 2 ball is going this way. Okay, there's no way that I can play this 1 ball and get to the 2 ball, right? So what other option do I have? Right? Do I have another option? Yes, I could try to play a safety where I could just put the cue ball to this rail. What shot do they have next? Now they're in a tough spot. I could get more aggressive and try to put the cue ball here and block them on the 1 ball, right? Because now I try to get ball in hand. But with defense and 9 ball, most importantly is you want to just focus on 1 ball at the end. Because a lot of the times we're trying to do too much, right? We're trying to get the 1 ball right here and then the cue ball right here. And what happens is that you get neither of them there, and then you leave your opponent with the shot. So I'm going to demonstrate where the goal is to get the 1 ball to this rail, right? Because I can't get the position for the 2. If I get the cue ball behind the 4, it's a bonus, right? But I make sure that I leave my opponent a really tough shot. Okay, so demo. Great. So I feel good about that, right? If I get it behind the 4, great. That's more aggressive, and maybe I get ball in hand that way. But right now, they're in trouble. They have to come with a better safety against me, right? And so now we can go into a little safety bet. I feel like maybe someone, do you have a question? I feel like he's like raising his hand on the camera. Right? So guys, is there any questions on those? No? And then one more, a great safe, like for 9 ball. Let's say, okay, this is a good example. But in 9 ball, what's the most important? What's the way? How do we win the game in 9 ball? Chicken.
Getting my mind.
Yes, right? Getting the 9 ball in. So how many times have we come to the place where it's just the 9 ball that's left, and we're battling it out with our opponent to the first person to make that 9 ball is going to win, right? So let's say we're on this shot, right? That was a really tricky shot, right? I could try to cut the 9 ball up there. That's really tough, right? Really low percentage. This shot to bank here is not really on, right? This is a really physically close to impossible shot. I could get really offensive and try to play it maybe a 2-rail bank here, right? But I could keep it really simple and try to leave my opponent with a basic safety. I could try to not hit the 9 ball here up to the top rail, but I like my preference. That's one option. My preference is also to go here, and put the 9 ball here, right? So I'm going to try to do that. and just leave this is called a Z base. This is called a Z safety, right? Because it looks like, what does it look like? 1, 2, it looks like a Z, right? So let's demo that. And the goal is to not knock the seal over, have the top rail. Like that. So guys, you see how simple and constructive that is, right? There are so many creative solutions in pool, especially in 9-ball. When you guys are down to that nitty gritty and you have to, whoever weaks this ball is going to win this match, right? Where you can sometimes, if you want to go for that hero shot, if you're feeling really, really good and you want to try it, but if it's a really tough shot, look for a creative, simple safety that where you have to make your opponent shoot a tough shot, maybe go for a bank, right? Or just leave them distance, right? Leave them like, even if I got here and I'm here, like that's really tough too, right? Awesome. Any questions on that?
Does anybody here have a favorite safety shot since we're still on safety?
Yeah.
You have a favorite safety you want to come up
I feel like you do.
You have a favorite one. Come up and show us your favorite. This is Jack. Say, this is Jack.
Hi, Jack. I'm Emily.
Show us your favorite safety, Jack. Share it with the others.
All right. So,
Cool. And then where does like playing the 9-ball there or?
And Jack, you have to you and show us. It's not to have somebody.
Hands-on learning.
like I want to get the 9-ball here.
So Jack, is this a half ball hit? Safety?
Yeah.
So we can talk about it. There's a half ball hit safety. Who else? Wait a second, Mia. What's a half ball hit safety? So we aiming the cue ball to the edge of the 9-ball, creating a 30-degree departure. So the 8-ball, the object ball, and the cue ball depart at 30 degrees, about the same speed. It's magic. That's one of the magic shots. Half the energy goes to the object ball, half the energy goes to the cue ball. They should come off about the same distance at the same speed, both at 30 degrees. Show us, Jack. That's one of my favorite ones. Good.
Love it. Love it. Go for it.
See how the cue ball, a little too hot. You see how the cue ball came out?
Good line though. A little too hard, but good line.
Yeah, but that's a good 30.
Yeah.
So the half ball hit is one of favorite safety. Who else has got favorite safety you want to show?
See you.
Come on, show us.
Yeah, come on. Yay!
Oh, this looks like a stop shot safety coming up. Is this a stop shot safety? Okay.
Gorgeous, and you just have to make sure you don't make it. And guys, actually, that was such a great demo because he executed perfectly. The only piece of this that could get tricky, right, is if you accidentally make the object fall, right? And I can tell you, I've done that 100 times in competition, and I make it the perfect safety, and I freeze him here, and I'm like, no. That didn't mean to make it in.
Sheila, how about you?
Yes, anybody else?
Sheila?
So I have one more to demo for you guys. And this comes up a lot. It's a little bit more delicate, right, of a safety, but it's very effective also, where it comes up a lot whether 9 balls here or on the rail, and you're just using the edge of the 9 ball to super thin, right? So I'm leaving the 9 ball where it is, and I'm focused on the really thin hit and sending the cue ball over here this way, right? And you can do this from the top rail. So I'm gonna do it first from this rail. Right? Super basic, but super effective. Right? Maybe a little bit of a bank. Another option is, and you see this come up a lot right you get here. Right? And again, I'm gonna use the edge, very thin edge, super thin edge of the 9 ball. This shows you how creative safeties can be, right? That we decide we're creating this shot that's like brand new. It's every time because it's not the ball in the pocket. You're now finding that spot, how much of the ball you want to hit. So again, I'm going to use the really thin edge of the 9, and I'm going to try to send the cue ball down here and keep the 9 where it is. Right? Super easy, super tough. And for the most important part of that is hitting thin enough. But right, I don't know who wants to shoot this next. Not me. I'm good. All right. Any other favorite defense? What do we think?
Okay. What about, let's talk a little bit about maybe speed control, because speed control is going to come into effect when we're talking about position play, about breakouts, about almost anything, because you mentioned having the line. So you made a nice line on that ball. It was just speed, right? Just speed control. So how do we control some of the ways for us to control the speed on the ball? So who wants to, if we want, for instance, to come back here. Okay. Let me see. How do we do that? How do we make that shot, find our line, and come back all the way here? Or better yet, how do we make a shot with very finesse shot? We're hitting something very easily. How would you say we control some of the ways we can control the speed on the ball?
Asking me or somebody else?
From anywhere. Doesn't matter.
What do you think, guys?
Steven.
I know you can do this. I know this. Everybody's being shy. Come on. How do we do this? Well, let's put it. Okay, let's put it in terms of a safety. Let's put it in terms of a safety.
He's right. He's the natural angle.
Suppose we do this. That you want to do your half ball hit, where you want to put the 5 on one side and the cue ball on the other side. All right, come on, Jeff. No, see you. Come on, you did. You did. So now you have to slow down. This is your half ball hit, right? But you want to put 5 on this rail and the cue ball over here. But you hit it too hard before, so show me you can hit it softer. And how would you do that? How would you accomplish that? Okay. And that makes a nice safe. Should be safe. But how do we do that? How are we going to accomplish? Emily, how would you make a little more of a finesse shot?
Yeah, so it's about like the energy, right, that you're using in your arm, right? So it can be he shortened his backstroke up. We're still following through with that clean follow through, but we're not going to use a big windy Efren Reyes stroke for that shot, right? We're going to use an Efren would be tap finesse, right? So it's about the amount of ball you can hit, right? So he hit also more of the ball with less energy, right, to control it. So it's about how much of the ball you can hit. Also, English.
Okay, wait a second.
Yeah.
I guess, Emily, before you go,
yeah.
1 minute. Let's take a big group picture here. Come on, before you go.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Please, before people stop, have to leave. We're going to take a
Everybody come on in. I would love to use a picture of you. That works. We're gonna go on the wall of fame, guys. Everybody, let's do it.
So guys, I'm gonna move this computer.
So I'll say that one more time. When we're listening to good pool players play pool, right? It's just like this beautiful dance, right? Music, it's a beautiful dance. It's like, you know, I'm gonna bank this 5-ball in, and I don't have to use a lot of energy, right? Stop, right? Lovely, beautiful. Whereas be more beginner players, bang, bang, boom, lots of energy, too much energy, they're really tight wrists, they're trying to muscle everything, right? But where does our beautiful smooth stroke come from? It comes from our relaxed wrist, right? This really clean stroke. This, guys, is our engine, right? This is our engine, this arm, because I can move this cue ball around 3 or 4 rails, and it's just beautiful, right? So that's the goal, is trying to connect to that energy, the energy of the cue of your body, of like, let these beautiful, the balls, and guys, isn't pool amazing? I mean, the fact that we're like, this tip is so small. Okay, I am literally having 2 round objects. I can shoot this and put this round object right here where I'm gonna make the round object, and it's amazing. It's amazing. Like, we are, it's a physics, it's everything, but it's so also something we can all do, right? So we want to be really in awe of the game and like remind ourselves, how cool is it? How cool is it that we can even do something like this, right? So, yes. Anything else?
Yeah, so what partly what we've done in straight pool is we're looking at different kinds of clusters and patterns, and we talked a little bit about cue ball position for zones, being in a certain zone on the table position. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that in terms of, you don't always have to be exactly, but you have an area where you walk around the table. You have a zone for that cue ball to land, and that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
So if we could set up a couple of clusters, and maybe you can talk about the zone where you.
Do you want to do it with straight pool? I can also do that with 9.
Oh, we'll do it with 9 ball. I think.
Yeah, I think. Actually.
Reading to you guys.
All right, guys. So with 9-ball, it's a little bit more clear on the games, right? Let's say you're playing 8-ball or straight pool, and you're like, this is what I'm shooting. This is what I want to shoot next. And you can find this zone for position. And then our goal is, what makes things easier is you're finding what's the widest point of that position zone, and we can find the line to create the cue ball line with that, right? That makes more more options, more room for error, right? So let's say I'm playing, this is 9, right? We're playing this. This is our 7, 8, 9, right? Now I'm playing the 7-ball to play the 8. Okay. Right. So the 7, 8. Now let's talk about the next. I have to make the 7 next, right? And then make the 8. Let's think about, where does get position for the 7-ball? Now the 9-ball is hanging, so we don't have to worry about that, right? Let's find our V, find our area of position. So really, right? This is a good option. This is a good option. Now, of course, if we have to move the cue ball, we don't want to be straight. We'd rather have it. That's like right now, we don't have to worry about it as much. So we can still good position, good position, good position. Now it's getting a little tough, right? If I'm going to shoot it from here, getting a little tough. Getting a little tough. Really don't like it from here, right? Really steep cut. Okay. So if we're going to play a position for this, I could, there's a, option would be to maybe, if I go straight down, right? If I go straight down, where does good position start? It doesn't start until, if I go straight, 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 straight. This is bad, 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 good. Look at this tiny little area for position, right? Whereas if I move forward with the cue ball and I come this direction and I go this way more, now where does it start in position? It starts here, 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 here. You see how much more room that is? right? So it's about thinking, where can I put my cue ball to have more room, to have more options? Okay, so I'm gonna shoot the 7 and I'm gonna go try to go forward more on this line as opposed to going straight down on this. Right? So you see that the difference there is really subtle, but it's for anyone, it's really hard to control this speed, the speed control. This gives us more room for error for speed control. This gives us a longer area. Because guys, if we're going this way, this way, this way, you know how hard it is to stop right here, right? But how much easier it is to stop here, 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 here. Right? Makes sense? Any questions? So,
And how do we find that zone? How do we find it? Harrison, how do we find that zone? We walk around the table and we look for our next shot. So we want to walk around the table and take a look to see where we have to be for the next shot before we make the shot we're shooting. So that way we know where we have to be to get in good position. If you're not doing that, then it's just a matter of luck if you get in that position or not. So we all want to walk around and take a look at, right, Mia? Right, Mia agrees.
yes. He's totally right, guys. So thinking about it, sometimes you're playing 9-ball. Now with 9-ball, it's easier, right? Because you have to shoot the balls in. So you already are set, 1-ball, 2-ball, 3-ball. So that's why 9-ball actually helps you. You have to have better position, and it can help you develop better position. 8-ball is really fun. I love 8-ball. But you have a lot more options, right? So you maybe can get to this zone. We're playing 8-ball, right? And I have, so we could put 8-ball pattern out. Right? 8-ball, there's a lot more stuff going on with strategy, right? But, right, let's say I'm stripes. Stripes with 8-ball. There's multiple spots where I can give myself, I could come down here. Now, if I go this way, let's say I'm shooting the 14. Natural line's going this way. I could come this way and maybe shoot the 9-ball next, right? But if I don't get here, let's say I get here, or let's say I can get stuck. But if I keep my cue ball and decide, oh, I could come down here, right, and pull it this way and get, this is a good area, right? Because guys, how many stripes do I have from here, right? I have this 13, I have the 10, I have the 15, I have all of them, right? But if I try to go forward, I could get in this tough spot. Now I maybe only have the 9 and it's a long distance, right? So I'm going to choose, instead of going forward and maybe getting in a tougher spot, I'm going to pull it, I'm going to use draw and pull this way to come over here, right? Right? So I didn't mean to bump the 1, I wanted to go this way direction, but you can see that if we're going into this area of the table, right, how many more options we have. So even with 8-ball, you can look and say, okay, I can give myself this zone where I have 2 options, or instead of going over here where I might only have.
So the kids playing straight pool, that's exactly what we've been talking about, right? Look to see where you want the cue ball and leave yourself the most options. When we talk about the insurance ball, that leaves an option so if you get into trouble. It's about walking around the table and thinking about what's going to happen when you place the cue ball in your next spot. What zone do I want the cue ball to be in? What position I'm going to be in? And if I get in that position, how many balls I have left? If there's the risk to get in trouble is high, look for a different zone and a different one. But that's how you solve that puzzle. When Emily talked about having the puzzle, that's how you solve the puzzle piece by piece. And the puzzle changes after every shot. It may be a little different. So just because you walk around the table once does not mean you're done for the round. You have to think about every shot. That puzzle may change just a little bit. Okay. Anybody have a question on that? Because we've been talking about that for a while. This is pretty exciting. You look excited. Emily, why don't we
Yeah.
break this up with a couple of challenge, maybe 9-ball challenge racks?
Sure.
Would you like to do that?
Oh, yeah.
You guys see that
You guys want to play some pool?
people with getting a little bit excited,
Yeah.
and let's who wants to try? I don't know if we can do everybody. Who wants to try this? All right, see you. Come on up. You're up.
Yeah, come on, see you. Yay!
Which wing ball you gonna get in? See you.
Trying to get in the 8, but I don't have a break cue.
Oh, here
You
you
don't
go.
need a break. You guys don't hit hard enough to damage your tip anyway.
Jacoby is a great break. Sherry and Karen. They're my sponsor.
We work on the 9-ball, getting the wing ball in, and then position on the 1. So now with the WPA rules, 9 on the spot. That's going to be interesting. Got to change things up a little bit.
Yeah, we've had the last 2 tournaments. They changed it, so we've all been kind of relearning to try to get the 1 ball on the side.
Yeah, side. That's you go from the wing ball to the one on the side now.
Yep.
But okay, we still play CSI rules, so it's still.
Yeah, I prefer this as well. Gonna have all the options.
Okay. So the 8-ball came up. Also remember, the harder you hit it, the more the 8-ball tends to go up off the rail. So it looks like you played a good safety, but you can push.
Yeah, there you go. I can push. Push, push, push.
Yeah, you want to play around.
Sorry, I almost cost you. You got back to me. I almost lost you the game. It works out. Works out. touch. The finesse.
Show me where the cue ball's gonna go. Put it down.
Hey,
Show me where it's gonna
Right,
go.
pulling out the teaching tools. I love it. We should have these in tournaments.
Extra points if you
Yeah.
get a big save.
Yeah. It should be a game. Try some. But the cue ball is almost right on.
This is only for the students, Emily.
Okay, good.
It's not for you. This is just for the children.
This is tough. Can I get that off Amazon, Roy, or is that?
I print them. I just put some circles and I made it up.
Oh, I love it.
I mean, dude, that's like 20 years old. I've been doing this.
No way. You can sell those. So cool.
That's super awesome. Sorry, you got the
So
right.
good line, right?
Line, that's what we're
Ah.
doing.
You guys are choosing a good line.
So we're looking at the line, then it's just speed control. Wait a second. The next step. Oh, I'm gonna say the little ones.
Put it right on the money.
That.
Bullseye! I think he's.
Still use the same spot. Put the cue ball, have a place where you want the cue ball to land. You can do
Right there.
it. Yeah, let's leave it there. Nice.
Yeah.
So let's all right, so it's 8:30. Let's finish this up. Do we have any more questions? How about our online students? How about our online students? Any questions? Or anything you want to see here? No? Okay, everybody else, then a big round of applause for Emily.
It's just, honestly, the biggest thing is just have fun and play as much pool as possible. And honestly, you'll keep getting better and listen to your amazing coach, Roy.
That's the best advice. That's the advice I've heard all night. Okay, all right, guys, we're gonna sign off. I'm gonna record this and we'll figure out what to do with it later, okay?